Can't see fucking anything out here. It's just fucking sand everywhere. Oh, Lord. What have I signed up for in this fucking hellscape? Oh, Lord. I hope you bought your canisters in the year 2024, because we are heading to the desert town in Creature in the Well. You play as a lone robot who wanders into a town surrounded by a desert storm. Well, a desert storm in a desert. You wander in this town with a singular goal: to turn on the weather machine. The weather machine was made to control the weather, but it was never made operational, sabotaged by a creature that lives deep within the mound for some strange reason. And thus your battle with it begins. Literally, as the title is, inside the well of the town lives a creature, and this creature is your opponent throughout your journey of turning the weather machine on. Now, Creature in the Well is a very interesting game. So it's essentially, imagine Breakout and Pinball mixed with Legend of Zelda. Now, unlike Legend of Zelda, there is no kind of real overworld exploration in this game, though there is an Easter egg you can find upon going outside the town, but it's not easy to wander into. The main grid of the game is inside the weather machine. Using little devices to switch where the elevator takes you, it will take you to each of the dungeons for the weather machine, and you will, well, make your way through the dungeon. So, there is a map system in that, and the game does have a number of similarities to Legend of Zelda, but at the same time is also incredibly bizarre in that sense. The main idea, the mechanic, is that you have two types of weapons. One weapon gathers light energy, and depending on the weapon you're using in this regard, can have different effects on the balls. And then your strike weapon, which allows you to hit the balls, which again, depending on the strike weapon you choose, could have alternate effects. Now, each room has a solution to it, and some can be easier than others, and they can associate needing certain timers, angles, multiple things needing to be hit or bounced off of. And when you do this, you gather electricity. Now, electricity you could look at as being your EXP, per se, in the game, as it is used to upgrade yourself. But you also need it to unlock certain doors. Now, not every room in the dungeons need to be finished. When you bring up your map options, you can get an idea of like how much of a dungeon you got completed and goals within each of the dungeons and that. And dungeons also have secrets to find as well, so keep an eye out for that, because there is different strike and charge tools along with capes, and capes are just cosmetics, so don't find those as a necessity. But I do definitely recommend trying to get strike and charge tools. Well, a number of them are unknownly odd objects that don't do anything. The other half do have effects on your orbs and how you strike them, so you can customize your playstyle a little as you get new tools to acquire through your journey, and you can use them to adjust to your weaknesses or things to your advantage. Now, as you go through the game, you're going to meet more deadly traps and things that are going to be more risque against you. And you do have a health meter, so you do need to keep that in mind, because if you die, then you'll have to backtrack and walk again against some of the things you've already done of that. Each area also has a boss fight with the creature in the well, so you will be meeting him multiple times through your journey through the weather machine. Now, the game's not perfect. Like, there's a few puzzles that sometimes will rely on very tricky angle strikes to get multiple things hit within a time limit, and sometimes those can end up taking a bit more time. Admittedly, I wasn't the best at all of them, But I gotta admit, like, once you start getting the tricks down, it starts becoming a lot more satisfying in most cases. But once in a while, there might be that one that you might spend too many times trying every imaginable angle to get the fucking walk out for you in your favor. And I'd be a liar if I didn't say I had that once in a while. Aesthetically, the game looks very nice. It has a very interesting, colorful flow within each portion of the weather machine, along with you being able to customize your little robot friend with capes and equipment. You can give yourself a nice little aesthetic in your journey through the weather machine. And once you finish each part of the weather machine, you can also get notes about what happened, the history of the town, the history of the weather machine, and the history of their encounters with the creature in the well, learning about the history of what happened here and why it took so long for this moment to have anything try and fix this thing. Creature in the Well is at best a interesting puzzle game with Zelda-esque elements to it, and I think you'll find it very interesting if you like Zelda-style games. Because on one hand, while it has similarities to Zelda, it is also its own complete different beast because of how the gameplay runs. Because there ain't really traditional enemies in this game. There are traps that attack you that you usually have to use against the puzzle of each room, but in general, you don't have like actual traditional enemies you're going up against throughout these dungeons. They're puzzles foremost and obstacles second. But there are times where tricking, dodging, and figuring out patterns will be necessary in certain traps. Music-wise, the game has a very nice tone to it. It's not something you're going to per se slip into your car drive and listen down to the road, but it definitely gets the atmosphere of what's going on done. And I gotta say, I really enjoyed the final stage of the game. It had a very nice build up to the end of the game, honestly. Each time you encounter the creature in the well, it feels like a build up of each fight and ideas that within the fights, all leading to a final boss fight with the creature that leads to a mixture of all the different elements that you learned, leading to a final assault to turn the weather machine on. A pretty simple game to learn, but one that can get difficult to master as it adds more and more obstacles for you to learn, time limits, and angles into the solution of puzzles. Overall, though, I really enjoyed Creature in the Well, and I definitely recommend it if you want something in a very different style to a Zelda-style game. Like, it's interesting what they did, but it's certainly not perfect. And it's certainly not a super long game, being maybe something that might be something some people might consider a lower part to the game, because after all, people want a bang for the buck depending on the price of the game, of course. Now, what would I give a value to Creature in the Well? Well, I would give Creature Well a nice 20. Honestly, you're looking at between like 5 to 7 hours probably, depending on whether you want to do everything and how quickly you go through the game. It kind of depends on those factors, but it can be a bit of a short game. But $20, I feel like, is not a bad bang for your buck for something that's a bit different. And the game admittedly is a little cheaper if you go digitally. It's about $15. I believe it's $14.99 digitally. And you can get DRM free on GOG as well. So those are obviously other directions you can go in that sense. If you're looking for the physical format of this, it was given a physical version on the Switch and PS4, and that's where you might run into a little bit of a snag. Unlike a lot of physical limited editions, Creature in the Well is not super rare, so you're not going to have to worrying about a really expensive price. However, depending on what platform you want it on, you might have to pay up a little bit more than other. On PS4, you can get generally around $20, which is obviously a really good price. On Switch, however, you're likely going to be paying up more between $30 to maybe $40 for a physical version on the Switch. Either way, they're not super expensive if you want to go physical for either console. PS4 obviously being the cheaper front. And while on that note, we did play through the PS4 version of this game, and I did not encounter any problems, crashes, bugs, or anything of noteworthy with the game. For me, it ran fine from beginning to end, and I did not encounter any real issues at all that I would put out there as being broken things or that. It was an enjoyable little game, honestly. I definitely recommend it. And to be honest, if the Switch version is decent, which I don't know anyone who's played that, so I don't know how well the Switch version runs, but if it does run pretty decent, this is a type of game that could be good for, on the road trip, because it's not super long. It's pretty easy to pick up and put down that. So overall, it's not a horrible game in the Switch's library either. But I cannot speak of my own personal experience in that regard because I don't have it or played that version. Although I recommend checking out it, like I said, if you like puzzles and you want something particularly weird, because I don't know anything to compare to this game, to be quite honest. Honestly, I feel like how I describe it, Breakout meets Pinball meets Legend of Zelda, I feel like is a perfect description of the ideas meshed together in this game. I enjoyed it for what it was, but I think it does work best being a shorter game, as much as some people demand long games for as cheap as prices. I feel like the oddity of what the game is, I feel like justifies it being worth a decent price. And $20 is not super expensive. That's a very reasonable price in my opinion. But that is a personal preference. Either way, regardless of what way you want to go, whether it be digital, DRM-free digital, or physical, it is not super expensive either way. Just some ways you may pay a little bit more than others. But either way, I definitely recommend Creature of the Well. Check it out. If you feel like you learned anything interesting at all in this review, please feel free to leave a like. If you feel like you learned nothing at all, feel free to leave a dislike, guilt-free. And now for the spoilers. So as you learned long ago through records, that the creature in the well was disturbed by the machine that was built. And thus, it did not wish for the machine to be on no more, and sabotaged the machine. The machine was the town's only hope to get rid of the sandstorm that it had accidentally brought upon itself. Unluckily, though, they were unable to get the machine to get rid of the storm. But your character will activate the storm machine, the weather machine, and get the weather to be stopped, and the town will be saved, and the creature in the well will be trapped in the darkness of the void that it came from. You don't ultimately get to learn a whole bunch about the creature in the well itself. It's kind of left to be kind of its own little mystery. But you end up saving the town and bringing hope back to what was essentially residents that long forgotten there was anything outside their little city. And that puts an end to a very simple little story that is Creature in the Well. Okay little title, like I said, definitely worth a check out in my opinion. And with that, I bid you farewell from our little dusty town. May our paths cross again somewhere on the Ethernet, for there will always be someone in aid of a hero. Until next time, I'll see you on the next review in the Proving Grounds here in 2024. I hope you had a good, happy new year, and I wish us all for the betterment and the best we can this year going forward. See you next time.